Hey everyone, welcome back to the vlog. And this is the week we spent in Florence. So we spent 5 days there. And here's some of the sites that you're going to see. This is off peak, bear in mind. So it's not in the usual summer period. So this is between February and March. And you're going to see some of the weather around it. It's not as great as it would be in that summer window. But however, there's still quite a lot of really nice sites to see, including the Uffizi River, the Ponte Vecchio as well. And it cleared up quite a lot to take pictures. It did rain in quite a few days, but if you've got a good poncho with you, then that is absolutely fine for you to still walk around and enjoy these sights and the city itself. Anyway, continue and watch to the end. So this is a bit of a matter of choice, but we flew to Florence Airport instead of taking the flight to Pisa. So that was another option. Some flights, like you get on Ryanair, they will only go to Pisa and not Florence itself. But we felt that Florence would offer a better kind of a time saving for that, because you go straight to the airport and then you can take a 20-minute ride to the city centre, and it's a very standard price of around about 30 euros for that trip. It's going to cost a little bit more going back from the city centre to the airport. It depends how far out you are, but this was the most convenient way, because if you go to Pisa Airport itself, then you're going to need to take about a 1 hour train from Pisa itself to Florence, and then you're going to have to go back the same way when you leave. But anyway, either way, it's fine. It's a beautiful scenery, and even if you take the train, you're going to see a lot in the countryside as you go through it as well. If you're coming to Florence in February time, i.e. the off-peak time, you're going to expect a bit of rain. So it's going to range between light to heavy, but the heavy side of it, some of it's going to last around about 30 minutes, so it's not going to be continuously all day long. And what I found was quite useful, some people did have umbrellas with them, but I took a poncho. So the poncho mainly because it can cover your backpack as well, and if you've got a backpack with you, you don't want to be lumbering around a wet backpack after long periods of heavy rain. And also, on a side note, it will keep pickpockets away from your contents of your bag, which is quite helpful. So for the famous Duomo in Florence, we opted not to climb to the top, mainly because we didn't want to. Tickets for that around about £40 per person, but instead we opted to walk around and admire the outside of it. So to be honest, I think this is the best part of the actual Duomo itself. It's certainly the most prettiest part, right? So it's got three different colors of marble: green, white, and pink, which represents the colors of the Italian flag. And just seeing that in the days where it wasn't actually raining was absolutely beautiful. But even in the rain, post rain, it was still very nice to admire it from the outside. However, I've got nothing against it going to see the dome itself to climb all the way to the top. But bear in mind, you're also going to need a time slot for this, so you need to pre-book your tickets beforehand. You don't want to be waiting outside in the rain. One of the things we always did was opt for a local tour, and you can get these from freetours.com, where you can book a guide, a time slot obviously as well, to go with a local representative to tour the city. They'll give you a whole bunch of like insights, historical insights, and also local knowledge, which actually is quite useful itself. And for this, they don't charge up front, but you just give them a tip depending on how good you thought the actual tour was. And most of these guys are actually professional. They've trained for this, and some of them do have certifications and licenses around that as well. So what you're going to get is usually a good quality tour, and also someone that will give you a lot of facts and also tell you where to go to eat and to see as well whilst you're in the city itself. So I definitely thought this was definitely worthwhile and something that everyone should go for, especially on the first couple of days, so you know what to look for and what to go see in the remaining days that you are in whichever country you are in this place, Florence. And also, whilst you're walking around, some of the tips they were saying in terms of the architecture, how bricks were kind of built up from bottom up, and how they looked, you start to notice it more as you walk around the city on the days that you are there remaining. So this year is the Piazza di San Lorenzo, one of the Florence's busiest and most historic squares. The church here, the Basilica of San Lorenzo, didn't go in it, but it was a parish church of the Medici family, the most important families in Florence history as well. And in this, it was designed by Michelangelo, but the project never finished in terms of the facade itself, like the Duomo. Today, the square is one of the centerpieces in which you would pass through to get from the Duomo to the marketplace, and we seem to pass this every day, and we kind of got used to it as one of the landmarks that we'll look out for itself. So walking out from San Lorenzo is San Lorenzo Market itself. So this is the central mercato. And this is one of the best places in Florence to experience local food and shopping. Outside on the street, you'll find loads of leather goods, bags, and souvenirs. You're gonna have to do a bunch of negotiating if you want to buy any of these itself. And inside, the Mercato Central itself is a food paradise. So there's lots of fresh pasta, pizza, gelato, and Tuscan specialities. Upstairs, you're gonna find the restaurants, and we found this on the second day and thought this was amazing. You find all sorts of food that you would like, the pastas, ice creams, gelatos, even burgers as well, and at reasonable prices compared to those of the tourist trust restaurants surrounding the area itself. So this is definitely the perfect spot to try any traditional Florentine street food. The quality might not be as good as some of the more high-end restaurants, but in terms of if you want to just go there and eat either lunch or dinner time, I think this is one of the best places for that. And there's plenty of seating as well upstairs where you can just take your time and enjoy yourself and take in the atmosphere around you. If there's one art museum you're going to see in Florence, then I'll probably suggest to go see Uffizi. Definitely, you're going to have to time slot book this. The queues can be quite long, but luckily it was off peak in February, so it wasn't actually that bad and it was pretty quick to get in. For that, you see about 100 rooms of artworks across the 3 floors, so it takes you quite a few hours to get through each one if you want to go see each one by one and to study it. But it is amazing. Some of the art pieces are from Leonardo, Michelangelo, and some of the other famous artists in that as well. Bear in mind there are quite a few stairs to go up, so if you're not very mobile, there are lifts, but there's a bit of a queue to get through some of that as well. This was one of the top attractions for Florence, which was recommended. They get about millions of visitors each year, and I can see why. Amazing artworks everywhere, and there are corridors lined with Roman statues as well if you're not satisfied with just looking at portraits and artwork itself. So not only that, if you go up to the upper floors, you can take a good picture and video of the Arno River and of the Ponte Vecchio itself. So this is from an elevated position, which you would normally not be able to get from the street level unless you had a drone. But from this, there's 2 floors where you can actually go and do it. I'd probably suggest going up to the upper floors because I think the second floor, there was quite a few people waiting to take pictures of that. And not only that, you can take pictures of down towards the plaza itself as well through that corridor. It was a bit of a shame there was some some not roadworks but building works in the middle of the picture itself, so maybe I'll get AI to try and remove that. But anyway, it's still amazing to go to this museum and have a look at the sites from the upper floors itself. Now, this is probably one of the more disappointing places that we visited, and that was the Boboli Gardens. Boboli Gardens itself was created in the 16th century by the Medici families, the former rulers and most influential people in Florence itself. It covers around 45,000 square meters, which is absolutely huge as a garden itself, but going in winter is definitely not worth it. All of the flowers were pretty much dead. The trees were pretty bare itself. There was nothing really to take pictures of or to see. There was the famous Neptune, but from what you could see, a lot of it was under maintenance. A lot of the Roman sculptures, especially in the garden area around the amphitheaters, were all covered up with scaffolding as they're trying to do works around it to prepare it for summer. The tickets itself, they weren't cheap. I think we've got a few tickets and they're around about 80 euros, which is quite expensive to go see basically a barren garden. The most of the time was spent walking around it, so this is actually a huge place to go, and a lot of the time was spent walking up the hill, which in probably summertime would have been great, but in winter the path itself was quite muddy and it was quite slippery in places, and there was a lot of puddles everywhere, so you had to kind of skip around that. Quite annoyingly, I was wearing white trainers along with quite a lot of other people, so you'll get splashes of mud everywhere on those, so you're gonna have to clean that up afterwards as well. And some of the paths were closed as they were cutting back the hedges in preparation for this, so it wasn't really kind of like what you expect in terms of picturesque view itself. In terms of going back in summer, I think definitely this would be worth it, but one to probably avoid in the off-season time itself, and you could probably spend your money elsewhere. Around the area itself, the shops, most of them were actually closed at this time, which you would kind of expect being off peak. But we did find a couple of really good cafes and restaurants in the kind of side streets around this plaza itself, which was quite good. On another note, when you come out of the gardens on the south side, there is a huge walk to the Ponte Vecchio itself. So you might have to take a cab just because it will take you around about 15 minutes, 20 minutes to walk all the way from one side to the other. And it can be actually quite tiring from the small roads and the amount of people that are walking in between those as well. We did walk around the Ponte Vecchio a few times, and it was beautiful to take pictures of it from the outside. I definitely want to go to in the daytime and not really in the night. Ponte Vecchio itself is Florence's most famous bridge, dating back to the 14th century, and the bridge is lined with a lot of jewelry shops, and we saw a lot of tourists trying to go through the shops trying to buy stuff as well. And apparently there was originally butcher shops on this bridge, but it was replaced by jewelry shops, and that has stood the test of time, especially as more and more visitors come to see it. Above the shops, there is a secret passage called the Vasari Corridor. You can see that above me. I didn't go in it because a few people were saying that it wasn't really worth that, and to go back and forth from the Uffizi to the Palazzo, it wasn't really worth that time to do that. A good thing to note as well, this bridge is one of the surviving rarities of World War II, where this was the only bridge in Florence not to be destroyed by the Germans who occupied the area. So as part of a day tour, we did a full day tour of both Cinque Terre and Pisa itself. So you book tickets, they cost around about £120 per person on a group private tour, which included the bus tickets to La Spezia and then the train tickets up to the Cinque Terre and then back again as well. This also included a guide who was quite knowledgeable. It was an American guy who lived in Italy, but he was quite funny and he had a lot of facts as we walked through the different cities and the different kind of areas as well, which was really helpful. He's been doing this for quite a few years. So luckily on the day we went, it was actually quite sunny, and it was one of the rare days of the trip where it wasn't raining at all, and it was actually quite warm itself. So this was absolutely great if you want to go see it. However, it was a little bit windy when you got to the actual coast itself, so definitely need to bring a jacket for that kind of area. Bear in mind as well, this is off peak, so almost all of the shops were closed. A few of them were open. There was an ice cream shop and a kind of a cafe and kind of supermarket as well. Those were the only ones which are open. Everything else was closed. So you're gonna have to pack yourself some water and maybe some snacks as well as you come along, because you're not gonna find a lot of places to eat around that area. Another recommendation is the footwear. Luckily, it was dry and sunny the time we went, so trainers were okay. But I can see that if it was raining, it would get really slippery. So if you were to go up and down the hilly areas, you're going to need a good walking boots to prevent yourself slipping. A few people asked whether it was worth it to go on a tour or by yourself. Both are good. The tour is good in terms of there's a lot of facts around it, and you get taken to all of the places to see which are worthwhile and the spots of where you can take some of the best photos. However, if you want to take your time, then good to go by yourself, but you probably need to stay there because it's such out of the way. There are no roads, so you can only take the train, and you're going to have to kind of follow the kind of schedule along with it. As an extra treat, went to see Pisa itself. Like I said in the original start of the video, we opted not to stay in Pisa or transit to Pisa to go to Florence. Instead, flew directly to Florence. So it was quite a good treat to go see the famous Pisa Tower and to kind of walk around it. However, at that time, luckily it was sunny and not raining, so a lot of people were taking good photos. One thing I did regret was we were asked, or we were kind of suggested, to buy the tickets to go see the museum and the two kind of cathedrals as well for around about €11 each. I mean, it wasn't a lot of money, However, it was impossible for the 1 hour and a half that we did have left to walk around by ourselves to see all three of them. So I was a little bit annoyed, but not too much around that. It was really nice to see, probably just the church itself, to spend a bit more time around it and avoid the long corridor one, because that was probably the least worth it of the Pisa area itself. Well, that's the end of the video. Thanks for watching if you made it this far, and don't forget to like and subscribe and join me on our next adventure, on the next vlog, so wherever that may be, and hopefully I'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching.